You don't believe me? Google, go on your phones right now, everybody. Google cultural Marxism. They're coming after you, coming to get your kids, right? Communists are coming. Ooh.
Oh, my dear, dear friends, we have yet another disturbing trend coming your way. At St. Mary's in Halifax on January 25th, there was a panel of academic freedom for students. They asked, how free should the students be? But it appears that the panel was disrupted by some students. Lindsay Shepherd tweets some literature handed out at the panel discussion I was on at SMU Halifax today. The bingo is kind of funny, but it is a severe mistake for these activists to associate terms such as critical thinking, viewpoint diversity, and open exchange of ideas with the alt-right. And I'm going to go over these handouts a little bit later in the video. She also says, I enjoyed the discussion today on academic freedom for students. It was quite tense, though, with all the jeering, repeated accusations of white supremacy, Nazism, neo-Nazism, hate speech, bigotry, and the like. The event was filmed, so there will be videos soon. If you're wondering what kind of institution of higher education St. Mary's is, then their video promo looks quite enticing.
You are pursuing further education.
And you want to achieve amazing things.
This memo passed out to people entering the panel. I'll just read you the first paragraph. Why are neo-Nazis concerned with freedom of speech? Lindsay Shepherd and the far right. Being retweeted alongside far-right neo-Nazi podcaster and Unite the Right organizer Mike Cernovich might give your average Twitter user pause for concern. Massive popularity among self-proclaimed Kekistani trolls might lead a person to ask, am I saying something wrong? One might think twice before lauding Faith Goldie, an overt white supremacist fired from the rebel media, not Lindsay Shepherd. Now, I'm not going to read, I'll put links to where you can find these. I'm not going to read them because they're basically trashing Lindsay Shepherd and trying to paint her into a corner with the alt-right. And it's vile and slanderous. This is contemptible. To show you how confused these people are, here is an image of the alt-right bingo sheet handed out to people before this panel. It is kind of amusing, as Lindsay Shepherd commented. It's a little bit funny, but it is Orwellian in a sense. They have good values mixed in with terrible values. And that's the confusing part, because cultural Marxism, Sharia law, mixed in with good things like viewpoint diversity, free speech, critical thinking, but you judge for yourself. I haven't seen any video of the actual panel yet, but there is some clips of the Q&A afterwards. I don't know if it was disrupted and they only had a Q&A. This person is asking a question, is equating a panel on academic freedom with totalitarian Nazism or something like that. Here, see for yourself.
If you want to look at history and look at how all those organizations that actually caused violence and death were formed, this is what it looked like. They put up posters, they made clubs, they got followers. We allowed them to create propaganda that led to the harm and death of many minorities. And we're just saying, okay, that's cool, like, let's do that again.
This next guy, he's not as much asking a question as making a statement that it's troublesome and very worrying that when people like Lindsay Shepherd show a several-minute clip from a public television program, she gets branded alt-right and Nazi, etc. And it has a chilling effect on academia.
I'd first of all say that it's not a conspiracy theory because it happens to everyone, and Lindsay Shepherd is actually a staple of that. It's the fact that academia is corrupted.
Lindsay right here.
I think I'd be kind of scared if my university tried to censor me for showing a TBO clip in class. I'm sorry, but that seems wrong. And the fact that all of this seems to be a conflation between freedom of speech and Nazism is absolutely ridiculous.
The next two questioners from the audience appear to think they are pretty clever chaps. They are trying to have a gotcha moment with little success, or at least that's how it seems to me. Why?
Do you have any friends or acquaintances who are Nazis?
Oh my God.
Go to the next question.
We don't know the answer. The topic is freedom of expression in academia, right?
Yeah. No, well, it's academic freedom, yes.
Academic freedom. So
Yes.
defined by the freedom of speech principle.
You know that the Nazis weren't in favor of academic freedom, right? Do you know who the Nazis were?
Well, this terrifying Antifa guy who's got his face covered up, it looks like he's got a clever question he's going to trick them into. He's already conflated Lindsay Shepherd with Richard Spencer, and he asked them a question, and their response, would you have, because of freedom of speech, etc., would you have Richard Spencer on? And so somebody on the stage says no, and that's it. It's over. Bang. Done.
Okay, so Lindsay, last month you tweeted, many people seem to think that just because I question or criticize someone's words, it automatically means I want them silenced. Couldn't be further from the truth. I believe people should say what they please, no matter how disrespectful. To me, that constitutes advocating for hate speech. Now, my question to the student body president. If, say, it wasn't Lindsay who came to the freedom of speech, but maybe Richard Spencer, would you be sitting there having a debate with Richard Spencer, allowing him on campus, having a panel and everything? Would you be in support of that? Richard Spencer. Thank you.
It seems these people that are against academic freedom and freedom of thought and freedom of speech and freedom of conscience don't really have many good arguments. The only thing they can do is conflate people like Lindsay Shepherd and Jordan Peterson and others with alt-right, Nazis, neo-Nazis, and horrible white supremacists. That's the only thing they can do, by somehow tying them in, somehow twisting something they've done. Somebody from the alt-right retweeted their tweet, which the original tweeter has no control over. And they really don't have any good ideas in their arsenal to make a good argument. And here is a really good point. This was a panel discussion with Q&A, and these people had an opportunity to ask questions, dialogue with these people, find out where they're coming from. But instead, all we have is gotcha moments and trying to tie people in with folks that most of us consider odious. It's really pathetic, and it's troubling.
Lindsay and the Blazer guy. According to the arguments put forth by you and your supporters, supporters such as Mike Sonovich, lead organizer of the Unite the Right neo-Nazi rally in Charlottesville, there is a subversive, politically motivated plot to infiltrate Western academia and other Western institutions. This delusion is known as cultural Marxism. I would like you to elaborate on this idea and what it means to you. Well, the video that Lindsay showed to her students was a Jordan Peterson video. And
With Steve Paikin on the agenda, TVO.
Proponent of cultural Marxism ideology and the fact that it exists at all. No, that's what I'm saying. He believes in a conspiracy theory. It's a conspiracy theory. It's a conspiracy theory invented by literal Nazis. Don't Google. You don't believe me? Google on your phones right now, everybody. Google cultural Marxism. Google's always right.
Here, Lindsay Shepherd weighs in on the damage she thinks these cultural Marxists are doing to academia.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I could argue this is not a safe space for me, but, you know, I'm kind of relying on the principle that these people know that they're damaging the mission of what they're trying to accomplish, because I believe in the non-ideologically infiltrated version of social justice. And it's sad to me that these people damage what it's about. It's really sad to me.
While Lindsay Shepherd does a great job, an admirable job, talking for this viewpoint of academic freedom, with no intention of her own, has become a hero in this fight for freedom of speech, which the regressive left is trying to conflate with some hideous right-wing ideology. And it's a really sad time when academic freedom, freedom of thought, freedom of speech, freedom of expression is under attack, not from the extreme right, the religious right, the people that want to bring us back to an earlier time when we had less freedom, but from what are supposed to be progressives. And they want to take away those freedoms. They want to go back to a real patriarchy where people tell you how to behave, how to live. Steven Pinker does a great job in this forum discussing the topic, giving us warnings and some good advice.
Now, an example of the kind of point that I made that is often taboo in academia is whether the sexes differ, whether men are indistinguishable from women. And I'm going to state as a fact, men and women aren't identical. There's a lot of scientific evidence that that's true. There's a lot of common sense evidence that that's true. Very few women bosses emerge naked from the shower or masturbate in front of their male employees. I think that's a pretty robust sex difference. And we know that many men do. Now, is that a Nazi opinion? If it is, what you're to say that to acknowledge differences between men and women is a Nazi opinion. First of all, it removes all credibility because it just so defies both common sense and science. And also for impressionable young people who don't know any better, it's saying, well, geez, I guess I'm a Nazi because I believe that. So part of my argument is that kind of equation, that certain beliefs for which there's an enormous amount of evidence are so taboo that we're going to call them Nazi beliefs, is only going to encourage young neo-Nazis or the alt-right more generally. So one of the many reasons that we should be mindful of excessive taboo and demonization of particular opinions is that it could backfire by both sapping the credibility of academia and journalism if there are certain things that anyone with eyes can see are true but you're not allowed to say, and perversely embolden exactly the kind of people that we want to marginalize.
Thin Gray Line is retweeting what Lindsay Shepherd and Steven Pinker are warning us about, and they're talking about the academic freedom for students at Halifax. Ava Braun is one of the speakers. I guess that's supposed to be a joke, because they are so shrill and not believable. And the Atlantic Poli-Sci tweets, St. Mary's University is holding an alt-right event today, calling it a discussion about free speech. Give me a break. Stop giving neo-Nazis like Lindsay Shepherd a platform to abuse students. Shame on SMU Halifax. Here's the problem. When Jordan Peterson is literally Hitler and Lindsay Shepherd is now a neo-Nazi, not only do these social justice warriors and the authoritarian left lose all credibility, but we are in really troubled times. This is quite disturbing. These folks, often well-meaning and well-intentioned, spewing hateful rhetoric, conflating freedom of speech with hateful right-wing notions, is not silly. It's dangerous for our future.
You are St. Mary's University.
Yes, we are all St. Mary's. And thank you, St. Mary's, for allowing this panel to happen. Please leave comments below what you think of this madness happening on university throughout the Western world. And thank you for subscribing. Thank you for supporting. Goodbye.